The jungle of Virelia 3 was a cathedral of chaos. Towering trees with amber gold leaves filtered the twin suns into shifting patterns of fire and shadow. Bioluminescent vines pulsed like veins beneath bark that shimmered like molten copper. The air hummed with insects the size of a man's hand and birds that screamed like breaking metal. Commander Kale Riven adjusted his rebreather mask, sweat pouring down his neck. His exo-armor, designed for both combat and survival, flexed silently as he pushed through the underbrush. The humidity soaked through every seal, every fiber. But it wasn't discomfort that kept him alert. It was the proximity alarm blinking on his HUD. He tracked his quarry across 4 planets and a gas giant's ring, an unusual assignment for a decorated recon officer, but this wasn't just any bounty. Saren Kor. A 25-year-old Verdari exile. Female. Orange-furred, humanoid in structure, but unmistakably alien. Long, pointed Vulpine ears, a luxuriously thick tail, and glowing amber eyes. She was wanted for high treason, data theft, and violent resistance against the Galactic Accord. A ghost with claws. Kale parted a curtain of flowering vines, and there she was. Saren moved like a dancer across the mossy ground. Her frame was athletic, her attire tight and tactical, matte black reinforced fabric molded to her form, with twin daggers strapped to her thighs and an energy pistol at her lower back. She paused briefly, tail flicking, as if sensing something. Then the ground bloomed beneath her. A yawning maw of violet petals snapped open, rows of thorn-laced tendrils erupting around her. She twisted mid-leap, slicing one vine, but another snapped around her ankle, yanking her from the air. She shrieked, a sound too primal for a warrior. Kale didn't think. He ran. "Damn it!" he growled, tossing his rifle and drawing a vibroblade. The plant, a native species called Rax flora, was wrapping her toward a steaming digestive core. He dove into the fray, blade singing. He severed the vine at her waist. The creature wailed, shaking the canopy. Kale grabbed Saren's torso as more vines snapped at him. He rolled back, bringing her with him. They hit the dirt hard, breathing in unison. She stared up at him, eyes wide. "You," she breathed. "They sent you?" "Congratulations," Kale said, panting. "You just got rescued by the guy meant to arrest you." Saren scrambled to her feet, coughing, covered in sweat, dirt, and threads of acidic plant saliva. Her orange fur shimmered faintly in the filtered jungle light, and the subtle pattern along her skin, verdant tribal marks from her people, glowed with residual tension. Her amber eyes fixed on Kale with a mix of disbelief and fury. "You could have let me die and walked away with proof," she snapped. "You'd still get your payout." "Yeah, well," Kale replied, wiping green fluid from his blade. "I'm not as heartless as the reports claim." "You're with the Accord," she said, spitting the word like a curse. "You don't get to talk about hearts." Kale ignored the jab. "We need to move. That noise will attract predators." Saren hesitated. Her ears twitched, and her nose wrinkled as she tested the air. "Northwest," she said finally. "There's a ridge, less dense vegetation. I've scouted it." Kale raised a brow. "You planning to share intel now?" She smirked bitterly. "Let's just say I owe you enough not to let you get eaten." "Yet." They moved quickly, weaving through the overgrowth, Saren leading now. Kale found it strange how natural it felt to fall in behind her. He was trained to distrust, to evaluate threats constantly, but her instincts were sharp. Calculated. Measured. When they reached the ridge, they paused. The jungle unfurled below them, rolling waves of golden and red flora punctuated by glowing stalks. The horizon shimmered with heat. Thunder rumbled in the distance. A storm was brewing. Kale pulled out a compact medkit. "You're bleeding." "I'm fine," Saren said. "That thing nearly dissolved your leg," he said, kneeling and reaching for her calf. "Stop being proud." She hissed as he dabbed antiseptic into a gash, then settled as the pain subsided. "You're not like the others," she muttered. "Others?" "Accord hunters. Cold. Efficient. Never hesitate to pull the trigger." "You hesitated," Kale didn't look at her. Maybe I'm getting tired of following bad orders. Saren studied him, then glanced away. Then maybe you'll want to hear the truth about why I ran. Kale looked up. You'll tell me? Not yet. Her tail twitched. But if we're both going to survive this planet, we'll need to stop pretending we're enemies. Kale offered a dry smile. Temporary allies, then. She extended a clawed hand. Truce? He took it. Her palm was warm. Truce. The storm hit harder and faster than either of them anticipated. Winds howled through the upper canopy like banshees. The twin suns vanished behind a bruised sky as lightning split the horizon, casting the jungle in stark flashes. Fat, metallic-smelling raindrops began to hammer the foliage, hissing against leaves and armor. Cave. 2 clicks east, Saren shouted over the storm. Her fur bristled with tension, bioluminescent lines pulsing faintly across her skin like living circuitry. Hurry! They ran. Kale kept pace behind her, boots pounding through rising mud, ducking under flailing branches, dodging sinkholes that yawned in the downpour. His HUD began to flicker from the electromagnetic charge in the air. Even his reinforced armor started to glitch. This storm wasn't just weather, it was a planetary defense mechanism. Virelia wasn't designed to be hospitable. It was designed to keep secrets. The cave was just as Saren promised, a narrow slit in the rock face, hidden behind drooping foliage. Inside, the air was cooler, drier. Safe. They collapsed just inside the entrance, breathing hard. Kale stripped off the top half of his armor, steam rising from his sweat-slicked body. Saren crouched by a pile of old supplies, her stash, and pulled out a collapsible heating coil, clicking it to life. Prepared, Kale muttered. Almost like you knew someone would be chasing you. I knew everyone would, she replied, tugging off her soaked gloves. The moment I left with the archive drive, I became the galaxy's favorite scapegoat. She glanced at him. Her fur was damp, clinging to her athletic frame, but her expression was composed, calculating. You really want to know why I ran? Kale didn't answer right away. He watched her fingers work the heating coil, graceful and deliberate. Her people, the Verdari, were often dismissed as too artistic, too soft for military life. But there was a steel in her gaze. I want the truth, he said finally. Not the version in your file. Then get comfortable. She unwrapped a ration bar, tossed him one, and leaned against the wall. The Accord is rotting from the top down, she said quietly. They're selling access to black site tech. Ancient stuff. Nexus builder tech. I found proof. Kale frowned. You're saying the Accord? I'm saying the people running it are rewriting history, stealing power, and using people like me to cover their tracks. Her hand moved to a pendant around her neck, small, unassuming. Kale had dismissed it earlier as decoration. Now he realized it hummed softly with stored energy. It's all in here. Problem is, no one will believe me unless I find a way to broadcast it through a node they can't block. A Nexus node, Kale said slowly. Saren nodded. And there's one hidden deep in these caverns. I don't know what state it's in, but if I can reach it. Her voice trailed off. She looked at him again. And you? You could have turned me in already. So what do you want, Kale Riven? He met her gaze. Lightning arced outside, illuminating the cave entrance like a starship's landing ramp. I want to know who I've been fighting for, he said. And maybe I want to fight for something else now. By morning, the storm had passed. The jungle shimmered under its aftermath, slick with rain, leaves gleaming like crystal, and every surface humming with quiet renewal. Outside the cave, the world steamed and sparkled. Inside, Saren was already moving. She changed into a dry, form-fitting suit made of matte black weave, reinforced at the joints. Her fur was brushed smooth again, pulled into neat braids along her scalp. The orange hues of her coat glowed more brightly in the diffused sunlight filtering through the cave mouth. Kale stirred and sat up. I didn't hear you wake. I don't sleep deeply. Not here, she said, tightening the strap on a small satchel. We're close. To the node? She nodded and handed him a protein capsule. There's a sublevel. I've been inside part of it, but the deeper sections. I needed help getting past the environmental seals. Kale raised an eyebrow. So you've been waiting for a human-shaped key? Technically, I was hoping for a second pair of hands not connected to Accord operatives, but sure. You'll do. They shared a half-smile. It felt strange how easy that was now, like a silent accord had formed between them that wasn't tied to obligations or orders. Just instinct. Kale reassembled his armor, this time skipping the heavier chest plate. He'd need flexibility where they were going. The injury from the previous day still ached, but he said nothing. Saren noticed anyway. Still hurts? She asked. Only when I breathe, he said with a wry grin. She tossed him a pain mod, and they moved out. The entrance to the Nexus chamber wasn't marked. It was hidden behind an outcropping of fungi that glowed faintly and reeked of copper. Saren crouched, moved the false wall of moss and webbing, and gestured Kale inside. He followed her through a steep descent, metal grates beneath dirt, ancient circuitry visible like veins under skin. The air grew colder the deeper they went. And the scent changed, from wild earth to something electric. This part of the world was terraformed long ago by the builders, Saren explained, her voice echoing faintly through the narrowing corridor. The jungle is a facade. Below it are vaults, labs, relays. How do you know all this? Kale asked. My mother was a xenoarchivist. Verdari preserve what others forget. They passed through a tunnel of smooth black metal inscribed with flowing alien glyphs. At the end, a large hexagonal door blocked their way. Its surface shimmered with embedded circuitry. Saren touched the edge of her pendant to a circular socket on the wall. The door groaned, shuddered, and slid open with a sound like shifting stone. Inside, a cathedral-like chamber lit from above by crystal spires. In its center, an inactive console, covered in dust and silence. The air buzzed faintly. Saren stepped in first. This is it, she whispered. The Embervale core. Kale crossed the threshold, his eyes scanning the strange architecture. It felt ancient and alive, like it had been waiting. And now it knew they were here. Kale circled the chamber slowly, eyes narrowing as he took in the sheer scale of it. The domed ceiling rose at least 30 meters above them, embedded with hexagonal crystal panels that emitted a dim amber glow, reacting to their presence. The chamber was circular, rimmed with elevated balconies and arching conduits like ribs of a great beast. In the center stood a raised platform, and on it, the interface. Saren approached it like a priestess at an altar. The Nexus Builder relays aren't just machines, she said softly. They're organic tech hybrids. They recognize species, biology, even intention. Kale frowned. Intention? She nodded, removing her pendant and slotting it into the crystal aperture at the interface's center. The moment it touched, a pulse of golden light surged outward from the platform in concentric rings. The lights overhead flared, then settled into a warm, steady glow. Saren's bioluminescent lines pulsed in sync with the console. Kale watched in awe as it responded to her touch, not just acknowledging her, but almost welcoming her. Lines of ancient code unraveled in midair, projected as holographic glyphs and flowing images. A star map burst into existence above them, lines connecting dozens, maybe hundreds of points across the known galaxy. Each node pulsed softly. This is the Embervale network, Saren said, her voice barely above a whisper. The builders used it to communicate instantly across light years. But it's more than that. Kale studied the lines. Transport? Possibly. Energy transfer. Memory storage. Cultural transmission. We don't understand a tenth of it. She input a command, something melodic and Verdari in tone, and one of the nodes pulsed brighter. A beacon. That's the Accord's central command hub. She explained. If I can feed the archive data through this network, every encrypted record, every transaction, everything Harkin's conspirators tried to bury, will be broadcast into public record. Every major Accord system will get it simultaneously. No filters. No delays. Kale stepped closer. Do it. I'm trying, she said. But the system's dormant. It's in sleep mode, like it hasn't been used in centuries. I need a dual biosignature to finish the authentication. He blinked. You need me. Saren met his eyes. The system wants trust. Connection. Two minds in sync. Not forced. Not faked. Kale swallowed. Like emotional sync? She smirked faintly. You tell me, soldier. Do you trust me? He didn't answer with words. Instead, he stepped onto the platform and extended his hand. Her orange-furred fingers curled into his. The light surged. Glyphs flared in spirals. The ceiling brightened, casting star patterns across their skin. The star map flickered, then solidified. Saren's pendant pulsed like a heartbeat. Then the ground rumbled. A warning flashed across the glyphs. Saren's smile dropped. They're here. Kale's HUD lit up with multiple incoming lifeforms. Harkin strike team. He muttered, drawing his rifle. They tracked us. Saren pulled the pendant from the console. Transmissions at 32%. I need a few more minutes. Kale checked his weapon, then looked at her. You finished the upload. I'll buy you time. Kale crouched near the main entrance to the Embervale chamber, rifle raised, breath slow. His visor tracked faint movement in the outer tunnels, 6 contacts. Compact, armored, moving with military precision. Harkin's elite. He'd worked with them before. Operatives surgically stripped of hesitation. No names, no faces. Just results. He glanced back once. Saren knelt at the console, surrounded by flickering glyphs and whirring crystal arrays. Her eyes were half closed, her hands weaving through projected controls like a conductor guiding a symphony. Her entire body was lit by the system now, bioluminescence pulsing brighter, faster, resonating with the awakening machine. She was becoming part of it. Don't die, she whispered without looking at him. Kale smirked. Not on my schedule. The first enemy appeared in the doorway. Kale didn't hesitate, one shot to the chest, non-lethal. The armor absorbed it, but the impact knocked the soldier back. Then the others moved in. The firefight exploded into the corridor. Kale was a blur of motion, rolling, firing, ducking. He used the architecture, bouncing rounds off polished crystal, causing momentary flashes that blinded the enemy sensors. But they were trained. 2 advanced to cover fire, flanking him. 1 round grazed Kale's ribs. He winced but dropped low, driving his blade upward through the weak seam in a soldier's thigh joint. Another attacker crashed into him, slamming Kale against the wall. His rifle clattered to the floor. Kale drew his sidearm and fired point-blank into the operative's helmet. The body dropped. He was bleeding now. Arm hit. Ribs cracked. But his eyes stayed sharp. He could still hear the hum from inside the chamber. A rising chorus. Saren was pushing the system faster. Suddenly, a new sound. A deep, rhythmic thrum that vibrated through the floor and air. Kale turned just as the console emitted a blinding column of gold. Saren stood in its heart, surrounded by data. Her pendant pulsed once, then projected a lattice of images above her. Video, sound, encryption keys, millions of files weaving together like living DNA. Every secret, every betrayal. It was broadcasting. A voice echoed from the ceiling, ancient yet clear. Transmission locked. Origin Embervale Core. Priority level, sovereign. Kale exhaled. She did it. But then, a disruptor bolt hissed past him, striking the edge of the console. Saren stumbled, her glow dimming. The last operative had slipped past him. He turned to see her, bloodied, panting, defenseless on the platform. Kale raised his pistol. But before he could fire, the operative lunged. Time slowed. Kale saw the operative's movement in sharp frames, their black gauntlets swinging forward, aiming to strike Saren's temple with a charged stun baton. Saren, dazed from the console overload, tried to dodge, but her limbs were sluggish, her glow flickering. Kale moved on instinct. He launched himself across the chamber, slamming into the attacker mid-swing. The impact knocked both of them off the platform and onto the polished floor with a bone-rattling crack. The baton clattered away. Kale rolled, barely dodging a knee to his throat. His pistol skidded across the floor, out of reach. He blocked a jab, absorbed a punch to the ribs, and countered with an elbow to the operative's visor, cracking it, revealing one human eye beneath. Cold. Flat. This wasn't a soldier anymore. It was a weapon. Kale roared and drove his fist into the exposed helmet seam, then twisted the body into a chokehold. He held until the soldier went limp. Silence fell again. Heavy, ragged breaths. Saren descended from the platform. Her eyes locked on him, wide, desperate. Are you? I'm good. He pushed the operative aside and sat back, blood streaking his armor. You finished the upload? She nodded. It's out. Every Accord world with a receiver now has the truth. Kale leaned his head back and exhaled. Then we just sparked a revolution. Saren smiled faintly. Told you I needed help. But her voice shook. She swayed slightly, her markings dimming again. He rushed to her side, catching her before she collapsed. She was burning up. The console, she whispered. It took more than I expected. Drained me. Then we're done here. We need to get you out. No. Her hand gripped his wrist, surprisingly strong. There's more. I saw it. He frowned. More what? Another sanctuary. Ambervale isn't the only one. There's a second site deeper. Not just a relay, something alive. The builders left it dormant. Kale's gut clenched. Why would they? Her amber eyes met his. Because it was never meant to be awakened by one person alone. Before he could ask what that meant, the walls trembled. A low hum began again, but not from the console. The floor beneath them illuminated, revealing a spiral symbol pulsing in deep orange. A second system. Another lock. Kale helped her to her feet. What do we do? Saren, pale and trembling, whispered. We go deeper. The floor beneath the Embervale console groaned as ancient machinery awoke. A circular platform, once indistinguishable from the stone, rotated open in sections, revealing a spiral staircase descending into glowing amber mist. Kale looked down, then at Saren. You sure about this? She nodded, though her body swayed slightly. The builders encoded something down there. I don't know what. But I felt it reach back. You felt it? She touched her temple. Not in my head. In here. Her hand lowered to rest over her chest. Like a resonance. Familiar. It knew me. Kale didn't question it. Not now. He slipped under her arm, letting her lean on him. Then let's go see what remembers you. They descended into heat and light. The walls of the passage weren't made of stone or metal. They pulsed gently, like a massive organism breathing just beneath its skin. Glyphs shimmered along the edges, some ancient Verdari, some completely alien. Saren's eyes fluttered open wider the deeper they went. Her fur bristled. This is builder bioshell tech, but integrated into neural channels. Kale blinked. English? It's alive. Not sentient. But reactive. It's reading us. They reached the bottom. A colossal chamber opened before them, circular and domed like the one above, but darker, warmer. In the center, a massive vertical structure pulsed like a heart. It was crystalline and mechanical, veins of molten orange energy flowing through its core. Saren stepped forward, unsteady but compelled. Her pendant lit up without her touch. The builder node responded, casting ripples of orange light across the walls. Slowly, tendrils of data unfurled toward her, hovering in the air like silk threads. Kale kept his weapon ready. What is it? A genetic beacon, she whispered. A builder failsafe. This place was meant to be locked to descendants of aligned species. The Verdari were chosen centuries ago. Kale frowned. Chosen for what? Saren turned, her face awash in the chamber's glow. To pass on what the builders couldn't finish. This wasn't just a relay. It was a sanctuary seed. Kale blinked. A what? A vault for rebirth. Technology, biology, philosophy. The pieces needed to rebuild a civilization, if the galaxy ever fell. The room darkened for a heartbeat, then flared with golden light. On a dais to the left, a secondary console activated. This one shaped like an open palm. Kale approached. The surface shifted to match his handprint. You're part of this now, too, Saren said softly. Before he could respond, a warning klaxon shrieked, deeper, more primal than anything from the Accord. The system was alerting them. Kale's HUD pinged with proximity alerts. We're not alone, he said, stepping in front of her. Saren turned toward the chamber's upper tunnel. They followed us. Boots thundered down the spiral stairwell above. Kale could hear the tactical signals echoing off the walls, short bursts of coded language. Elite Accord commandos. A cleanup crew sent by Harkon, or worse, his inner circle. Saren's pendant flared with a defensive pulse. The chamber responded, the core's light dimming and concentrating around her. The node was protecting her. They can't activate the system, she said, her voice tight. But they can destroy it. Kale nodded grimly. Then we hold them off. He dashed to the staircase entrance just as the first operative dropped into view. No hesitation, Kale fired, catching the lead with a stun round to the chest. Two more came down fast, followed by the whine of a drone skimming along the wall. Kale ducked behind an outcropping and lobbed a microcharge upward. It detonated midair, shredding the drone and shaking the tunnel. 2 minutes, Saren called, her fingers weaving through floating glyphs at the secondary console. I can seal the chamber, but only once I finish the builder sync. Kale grunted and shot another operative in the thigh. You've got one! The chamber groaned again as the living structure reacted, closing tendrils along walls, generating kinetic shields and patches, trying to protect its chosen user. But the system was old. Weakened. A grenade arced through the entry. Kale dove, caught it midair, and hurled it back. It detonated just before landing, sending shockwaves down the tunnel. His arm went numb. His shoulder burned. Still, he stood his ground. One commando slipped past the blast and charged. Kale didn't have time to aim. He ducked, let the attacker overshoot, then slammed a knee into his back and drove the butt of his rifle into the back of the helmet. The operative dropped, groaning. Kale swayed, bloody and breathless. Behind him, the platform flared. Saren stood bathed in amber fire, arms outstretched. The pendant hovered inches from her chest, spinning. Her eyes were wide, glowing, not just with bioluminescence now, but something deeper. Kale, she said, her voice echoing unnaturally. He turned, stared. The glyphs around her expanded into a cocoon of light, rising and twisting like flame. The builder seed node was responding. Accepting. Get to me, she commanded, louder now. We finish it together. He ran to her as the last of the soldiers burst through the stairwell, too many now to hold back. But they weren't trying to shoot anymore. They saw the light. The chamber. The power. They hesitated. Just long enough. Kale reached her, took her hand. And the builder's sanctuary awakened. The moment Kale's hand clasped Saren's, the sanctuary reacted like a living organism recognizing its heartbeat. The central core flared to life. Tendrils of molten orange energy spiraled outward, coiling up the walls, along the ceiling, and into the air like strands of living memory. A deep tone resonated through the chamber, so low it vibrated in their bones. It wasn't a sound. It was a signal. A verification. Saren gasped. Not in pain, but revelation. I see it, she whispered. Kale, I see it all. The builders, their fall, their warning. Kale held her tighter. Talk to me. The network wasn't just for rebuilding. It was a firewall. A failsafe. They knew something was coming, something they couldn't stop. So they created sanctuaries like this. Hubs of knowledge, seeded with biokeys. And you're one of them? She shook her head. Not just me. Us. Together. The chamber brightened further, pushing the soldiers near the stairwell back, shielding Kale and Saren in a corona of energy. The glyphs rotated around them in concentric rings, showing flash-like scenes, alien landscapes, stars collapsing, machines rising, an encoded history no one had seen in millennia. Kale felt something warm stir in his chest. Not just awe. Recognition. He saw flashes of his own lineage, deep genetic signatures recorded in the Builder's database. Earth's people had once been touched by Verdari ancestors. Old DNA, lost in time. Reawakened now in him. They chose us both, Saren said softly. Because we were never meant to fight alone. Suddenly, the cocoon of light condensed into a single vertical beam. A voice, not Saren's, rang out in flawless accord standard. Synchronization complete. Embervale seed node activated. Secondary protocols engaged. The soldiers at the threshold finally reacted. One of them raised a weapon, despite the light. Fire! But it was too late. The entire platform shifted. Kale and Saren were pulled downward, not physically, but through space itself. A feeling of slipping through fabric. Falling without falling. Transport. The beam cut off. The chamber was empty. The stunned soldiers stood in silence. Then one turned to the others. They're gone. Kale's boots hit solid ground. He stumbled, nearly collapsing, his vision swimming with colors he didn't have names for. The light around him gradually dimmed, resolving into the warm hues of a subterranean chamber far more advanced than Embervale. Saren landed beside him, steady despite the trip. Her eyes were wide, but not with fear. Wonder. Familiarity. We're not on Virilia anymore, she whispered. The chamber was vast, larger than anything they'd seen. Smooth crystalline surfaces lined the walls, glowing with soft orange and indigo pulses. A translucent dome overhead revealed stars, impossibly close, impossibly unfamiliar. The architecture was similar to Embervale, but purer. Untouched. Where the hell are we? Kale asked, turning in place. Saren activated her pendant. It synced immediately with a pedestal near the platform. Data streamed upward in spirals. Sanctuary Prime, she said. The first seed vault. The Builder origin point. It's not even charted in Accord records. The pedestal projected a map, one that placed them light years away from known space, beyond any existing jump gate system. Kale whistled. So we're alone. Not alone, Saren corrected, kneeling beside a raised dais. Atop it sat a small obelisk, dark and dormant. She reached toward it, and it lit up. A hologram emerged. A figure, tall, luminous, vaguely humanoid, floated before them. Its body was composed of liquid light, its face indistinct. But its voice was clear, smooth, and ancient. Welcome, Mares. You carry the thread. Kale froze. Heirs? Verdari, and human. The last keys. You have passed the trials. The Nexus awakens. Saren's tail twitched with emotion. You knew we'd come. Not you exactly. But those like you. Bound by choice. United by truth. The hologram flickered, then gestured toward the obelisk. This place holds what remains of the Builders, not just knowledge, but creation itself. A forge of species, a code base of cultures, a galactic compass. It cannot fall to those who worship power. Kale took a slow step forward. You want us to protect it? Not protect. Continue it. The pedestal beside the obelisk activated again, casting out images of other sanctuaries. Dozens. Hundreds. Hidden beneath oceans, sealed inside asteroids, embedded in moons. The Accord has forgotten its origin. You must remind them. Saren's voice was soft but firm. And if they resist? The light being's tone deepened. Then you show them what remembering looks like. Silence hung in the chamber after the projection faded, as if even the air was processing what had just been said. Kale stared at the darkened obelisk. Continue it, he repeated. What does that even mean? Build a new Accord? Rebuild the galaxy? Saren didn't answer right away. She paced in a slow circle around the pedestal, her tail flicking with agitation. The patterns beneath her orange fur glowed gently, subtle, steady pulses like a heartbeat. We're not just witnesses anymore, she said finally. We're part of something older than the Accord. Older than everything we thought we knew. Kale rubbed a hand down his face. This isn't what I signed up for. I was supposed to bring you in. Get paid. Maybe retire. Her gaze met his, unreadable. Do you still want that? He hesitated. His instincts, shaped by years of orders, missions, discipline, told him to walk. Let the galaxy burn if it wanted to. Let the Accord rot. But his eyes lingered on her. On the starlight glinting off her fur. On the pendant still humming with alien resonance. On the flame she carried in her soul, even now. No, he said at last. I want to know where this leads. Saren stepped closer. Then we start by returning to known space. The evidence is already out there, but they'll try to bury it. Spin it. Suppress it. You have more, Kale guessed. She nodded. The builders didn't just leave tech. They left proof of manipulation, of species engineering, of hidden factions pulling Accord strings for centuries. Kale crossed his arms. If we show that, we'll paint targets on our backs the size of cruisers. I've been running for a long time, she said. I'm done running. There was a flicker in her expression then, softness, vulnerability. You stayed, she said quietly. I told you, Kale replied, voice low. I'm in this. With you. She stepped close enough for him to feel her warmth. Her bioluminescent lines pulsed in a rhythm that matched his heartbeat. Their foreheads touched. I'm glad it was you, she whispered. He smiled. Next time, let's not make our first date inside a carnivorous plant. She laughed, a real laugh, free and wild. Then the lights in the sanctuary shifted, cooling to a steady glow. Return to the surface. The Nexus network is yours now. But so are its enemies. Kale reached for his rifle. Then let's go remind them who they're dealing with. The transport platform reactivated beneath their feet. No buttons, no countdown, just the pulse of thought and intent. Saren held Kale's hand, eyes closed, guiding the coordinates through the builder interface with the confidence of someone finally walking through doors meant for her. With a shimmer of amber light, they vanished. Moments later, they reappeared, on a ridge above the Virelia jungle, the same landscape where Kale had first seen her fleeing through the trees. The twin suns were low on the horizon now, casting a long orange shadow across the forest. The air smelled of rain, smoke, and possibility. Kale immediately scanned the perimeter. The strike team? Gone, Saren said, pulling her pendant from the air as it powered down. The Embervale core sealed itself after we left. Protocols re-engaged. Think any of them made it out? She shrugged. If they did, they won't follow. He turned to her. You don't seem worried. Saren's expression hardened. I'm tired of worrying. Let them come. I'm not hiding anymore. Kale gave a wry smile. We've been gone for, what? Hours? Days? Saren tapped her armband, sinking to a local time beacon. Her eyes narrowed. 6 hours. Not bad for a round trip across the stars. Kale muttered. She looked over the edge of the ridge, scanning the jungle below. There's a landing pad 3 clicks east. A smuggler friend used to run supplies through there. If it's still operational, we might find a ship. Might? Virelia isn't exactly on the spaceport rotation, she said with a small smirk. But if the Accord's listening to their emergency channels, they'll come looking. We don't want to be here when they do. Kale's face darkened. And if they send more than a cleanup crew next time? They will, Saren replied simply. They moved fast, cutting through the foliage as the jungle came alive again, chirps, rustles, and glowing insects surrounding them. But the world felt different now. Less like a trap. More like something ancient that had just exhaled for the first time in centuries. At the edge of a dry riverbed, Kale paused. So what's the plan after we get off-world? We don't disappear, Saren said, pausing to check her pistol. We go loud. Public. Activate as many Nexus nodes as we can. Build allies, not just messages. I have names. Planets. Hidden builder keys. Everything Harkon doesn't want exposed. Kale watched her with quiet admiration. She was no longer just a fugitive. She was a reckoning. And us? He asked quietly. Between all this? She turned to him, her hand brushing his jaw. We're the spark, Kale. We light the fuse together. The jungle thinned as they approached the old smuggler's outpost, little more than a flat slab of siricrete camouflaged beneath retractable foliage netting. A broken transmitter lay half-buried beside a rusted cargo hauler, its landing gear fused to the ground from years of disuse. Vines choked the perimeter fence, and several motion beacons were cracked or outright dead. But it was still a landing pad. Saren tapped her pendant against the old control node. The system blinked once, flickered, then came online with a reluctant hum. Her fingers danced over the interface, bypassing ancient security codes and inputting a low-frequency burst ping. Ship nearby? Kale asked, glancing at the jungle behind them. Not yet, she replied, brow furrowed. But this signal should bounce to old mercenary relays. I set the ping with a coded bounty, big enough to attract the kind of pilot who doesn't ask questions. Let's hope they don't shoot first. Saren smirked. That's your job to prevent. They crouched low inside the rusted hauler's broken hull, waiting. The wind picked up slightly, sending ripples through the canopy. Every sound, every shifting branch, felt louder now, more exposed. They were out of the cave, out of the light. Back in the real world. Kale reloaded his rifle. They'll twist the narrative, he said. Even with the data out there. The Accord always has a version ready for public digestion. I know, she replied. That's why we move fast. Before the lie sets in. He glanced at her. And your body, how are you feeling? After the sync. She blinked, surprised at the question. Different. Not just physically, my awareness is broader. I can feel the relays. Hear them like echoes. The builders designed the system to respond to intent. It's attuning to us. You mean you're part of it now? More than part, she said. I think I might be, becoming the next key. A low thrumming pierced the air. Kale tensed, then looked up. A ship crested the tree line, its silhouette sleek and matte black. No transponder signature, no lights. A modified courier class, retrofitted with aftermarket boosters and weapon ports. A merc vessel, no doubt about it. Saren stood and stepped out into the open, arms raised casually. The ship hovered above for a tense few seconds, then landed, slow and careful. The belly ramp hissed open, revealing a tall figure in a hooded coat, flanked by two smaller, armed shadows. A gravelly voice called out. Which of you sent the retirement to distress ping? Saren raised her hand. That'd be me. The figure chuckled. Well, damn. You must be serious. Kale stood beside her, ready. We are, he said. And we pay up front. The pilot cocked their head. Where to? Saren met Kale's eyes. Everywhere, she said. The ramp clanged beneath their boots as Kale and Saren boarded the mercenary ship. Inside, the vessel was a utilitarian maze of welded panels, emergency override ports, and exposed wiring. It smelled like fuel and old adrenaline. The pilot was older than Kale expected, gray around the temples, one artificial eye that glowed faint red, and a long coat patched with insignia from a dozen forgotten conflicts. Captain HFY, he said, giving a two-finger salute. Don't ask questions, don't make speeches, don't bleed on the NAV console. Those are my rules. Kale offered a curt nod. Saren, however, handed him a data chit. That'll cover fuel, hazard pay, and silence. With a bonus if you outrun a Concord patrol. HFY raised an eyebrow at the numbers. Well, guess I just cleared my tab with the debt lords. He turned on his heel. Strap in. We leave in 5. The ship lifted off within minutes, rising through the canopy like a shark breaching jungle waters. Below, Virilia shrank quickly, its vines, roots, and secrets vanishing beneath storm-scarred clouds. Saren watched from the viewport, her expression unreadable. Kale sat beside her. "Regret leaving?" She shook her head. "That place, it served its purpose. But we were never meant to stay buried." Kale shifted in his seat. "Any clue where to go first?" "Yes," she said, already tapping coordinates into a wrist console. "There's a builder vault on Eurastel. It's buried under the ocean floor. The Accords mining syndicate stumbled on it decades ago, then sealed it off and declared the region toxic. You think there's another node there? There's more than that. There's a transmitter capable of overriding entire planetary news networks. If we reach it, we can broadcast full builder archives to every open channel. No edits. No spin." Kale whistled. "That'll wake people up. That's the idea." As they ascended beyond Virilia's upper atmosphere, Saren leaned back, her eyes closing briefly. Kale noticed the glow under her fur, paler now. Not fading, but stabilizing. Her body was adapting. Her connection to the builder system wasn't just metaphysical, it was biological. "You sure you're okay?" he asked, more gently this time. She opened one eye. "Better than I've ever been." He hesitated, then reached for her hand. She let him take it. Outside the viewport, stars unfolded. Behind them, silence. Beneath them, a lit fuse. Ahead? War. The journey to Eurastel took 37 hours through unstable skip lanes. Captain Arwaix flew like a man who trusted his ship more than physics, weaving through dead sectors and silent jump gates with the calm detachment of someone who'd cheated death so many times it had grown bored. Saren spent the time reviewing the Builder archive downloaded from Embervale. Her pendant pulsed steadily, sinking to hidden strands of data she hadn't fully understood before. Each time she touched the console, it hummed. Recognized her. Trusted her. Kale spent his hours cleaning gear, recalibrating his weapons, and watching her. "You're changing," he said finally, on the second day, as they sat alone in the mess hall. Saren didn't look up from the floating glyphs projected by her wristband. "We both are." "No, I mean, I can see it. Your skin's bioluminescence isn't just responding anymore, it's patterned. Structured. It reacts to what you feel, not just where you are." She paused. "It's the builder tech. The Embervale node didn't just sync with my pendant, it modified me. My cells are running dual architecture now. Verdari base, but with encoded builder scaffolding." Kale frowned. "Is that safe?" "I don't think safe is part of this story anymore." He nodded. "Fair." Arwaix's voice crackled over the ship-wide calm. "Approaching Eurastel. Atmosphere's holding but dense. Be ready for storms and pressure drops." Kale and Saren made their way to the cockpit. The viewport widened, revealing the oceanic planet below, a roiling, storm-racked sphere of indigo and silver, lit by distant suns. Massive cloud systems churned above a single broken continent, jagged and weather-worn. "Landing near the mining exclusion zone," Arwaix said. "Signal jammer's still active, but I've got old protocols. They'll think I'm a reclamation hauler." Saren leaned forward. "Coordinates locked. The vault's 3 clicks below sea level, inside an abandoned pressure dome." Kale adjusted his armor. "So we dive." The ship descended rapidly, slicing through the atmosphere like a dagger. Lightning danced across the hull. Systems blinked warnings. But Arwaix didn't flinch. They touched down on a rusted sea platform half consumed by the rising tides. The wind howled. Saren turned to Kale and extended her arm. "Ready?" He clasped her wrist. "Always." Together. They dropped into the abyss, toward the forgotten builder vault beneath a poisoned ocean. The submersible was small, just enough for two, stripped down to essential systems, its hull patched with alloy scavenged from long-abandoned mining rigs. Arwaix had warned them it might leak at depth. Saren had simply said, "Then we don't give it time to." Now it creaked under pressure, descending into the dark belly of Uraztel's deepest trench. Water pressed against the hull like a sleeping giant. Outside, bioluminescent life pulsed and twisted, alien eels, translucent spirals, enormous gelatinous forms that flickered like lightning bugs in slow motion. Kale sat opposite Saren, watching her work the controls. The light from her pendant reflected off her orange fur, casting her in soft, golden glow. The glyphs on her neck shimmered gently in the dark, pulsing in rhythm with the builder signals she tracked. "There," she said suddenly, pointing to a formation on the sonar screen. "Subterranean dome. Power signatures weak, but still active. Looks like it's embedded in a cliff wall," Kale observed. "We'll have to dock manually." The submersible approached the structure, a vast, rust-colored mining dome now almost entirely overtaken by coral and calcified detritus. Builder tech hummed beneath layers of metal and barnacle, still faintly alive. A single docking port blinked amber. Kale suited up in a pressurized dive rig and loaded his weapon. "You good?" Saren slid her pendant into a sealed cavity at her throat. It clicked into place like a key. "Better than good." They exited the sub, tethered together. The water pressure was immense, but their suits held. As they neared the entrance, Saren extended her palm toward the access panel, one not built by humans. Glyphs bloomed across the dome's surface. Verdari's signature verified. Human sync, active. Entry permitted. The hatch opened with a plume of silt and light. Inside was silence. No alarms. No decay. Just a perfectly preserved builder vault, untouched since the last storm had buried it. Kale stepped in first, rifle raised. Saren followed, breath caught in her throat. The lights inside responded to them, rippling across the floor in gentle arcs, leading deeper into the structure. "This is it," she whispered. "The Vault of Tetherin." Kale glanced at her. "You sound like a scholar." "I was, once," she said, stepping ahead. "Before the Accord made me a fugitive." They passed through a narrow corridor into a central chamber, circular again, like Embervale, but filled with upright pods. Dozens. Maybe hundreds. Each one contained something. "Stasis chambers," Saren said. "Builder constructs. Biotemplates." Kale stared at the nearest one. Inside floated a humanoid shape, sleek, translucent skin, lit by faint internal glow. Neither machine nor creature. A hybrid. "They weren't just building tech," Kale murmured. "They were building successors." Saren moved toward the central console. "And we're about to tell the galaxy." The central console of the Vault of Tetherin pulsed to life beneath Saren's touch. Light poured upward in columns, forming a spherical projection around her, a dynamic, rotating map of the entire Accord-claimed galaxy. At its center, the Builder Network. Now active. "Is it connected?" Kale asked, his voice low, reverent. Saren nodded. "More than connected. The whole network is live. The archives seated in every node. I just have to unlock the broadcast key." Kale glanced around the chamber. The stasis pods lining the walls buzzed with faint energy. Inside them, the dormant forms waited. Not dead. Not alive. Suspended in builder time. "And once the message goes out?" he asked. "There's no coming back," she said. "Every world will know what the Accord tried to bury. What it became. What the builders warned us about." Kale put a hand on her shoulder. "Then do it." Saren closed her eyes, fingers moving through the builder interface with confidence born of something deeper than training, like instinct or inheritance. Glyphs unfolded around her, locking into place. She whispered a phrase in Verdari. The vault answered. The stasis pods brightened in sequence, one after another, as the builder signal activated. Power surged through the floor. Outside, the ocean trembled. A voice, not hers, filled the air. A builder transmission, translated into every known galactic language. "We are the ones who came before. We are not gods. We are not your masters. We were the stewards. The gardeners of civilization. You are our inheritance." But you were never meant to serve. You were meant to continue. The Accord betrayed its charge. Not all of it. But enough. So now, the truth returns to the surface. From Tetherin, the signal burst upward, through the planet's ocean, into the atmosphere, and from there, into every active relay node, every Concord station, every orbiting data satellite. Saren opened her eyes. It's done! Kale's HUD lit up immediately. Alert! Unauthorized galactic transmission received. Source: Builder Origin Node. Classification: Red Omega. Accord Crisis Command full lockdown. Reassess hostiles. Eliminate vectors. He looked at her. We're the vectors. She met his gaze calmly. Let them come. But before he could respond, the vault itself pulsed again. The map updated. One of the nodes, far across the sector, blinked red. Kale pointed. That one wasn't on your list before. Saren's brow furrowed. Because that node's not supposed to exist. What is it? Another sanctuary. She whispered, voice tightening. But the signal's inverted. It's not broadcasting builder truth. She zoomed in. Her pendant flickered uneasily. It's erasing it. Kale's blood ran cold. Harkon? Saren nodded. Or something worse. Someone who learned how to rewrite the network. A new enemy. A corrupted key. The truth was out, but now the war for memory itself had begun. The corrupted node, marked as Nexus Shadow, in the builder map, flickered with unstable glyphs. Its glow wasn't amber like the other sanctuaries. It pulsed with a deep, sickly crimson. Saren stared at it in silence. That's not builder programming, she said. It's invasive. The code's self-mutating. Kale leaned in. You're saying it's rewriting the network? Trying to. Her hands moved rapidly through the interface, pulling logs, comparing signals. This isn't just a hacked node. It was hijacked with builder tech. Twisted. Someone out there learned how to speak to the system using a corrupted pattern. It's spreading like a virus. Kale's jaw tightened. Any chance that someone's wearing a Concord uniform? Saren's expression darkened. This doesn't feel like Concord. It's worse. Older. Echoes of something the builders buried on purpose. Outside the vault, the waters shifted violently. The ocean above them churned, reacting to the pulse from the corrupted node halfway across the galaxy. Even the vault itself began to groan, lights dimming as if confused by the foreign signal. Kale raised his weapon instinctively. Can it find us? No. But it can suppress what we've sent, overwrite truth with altered memory. Recast us as threats. Twist our broadcast into a call for fear. Then we go there. Saren looked up at him, surprised. You're serious? Always, Kale replied. We don't just wake people up and walk away. If someone's trying to poison the builder legacy, we shut them down. She gave him a tight smile. Then we'll need to reach the Nexus Shadow before it locks itself off. She tapped into the submersible's comms and sent a compressed signal to RYX. Extraction? ETA 8 minutes, RYX replied through static. But I'm picking up chatter. Accord is mobilizing. How many ships? Too many. Kale checked his gear. We fight through. No, Saren said, her pendant flaring again. We outrun. The network's still ours. And there's one node we haven't touched yet. She expanded the map again. Far beyond the Accord's borders, near the galactic edge, a dormant node blinked once, so faint it barely registered. Oblivion Reach, she whispered. Kale's brow furrowed. Sounds welcoming. It was sealed during the builder collapse. A failsafe. It might be the only place left that can restore the original code and purge the virus. The vault lights trembled again. Time was running out. Kale stepped beside her, slinging his rifle. You lead, he said. I follow. She turned toward the exit hatch, her voice quiet but resolute. Then let's race the lie. RYX's ship roared through Uristel's turbulent atmosphere, barely outrunning the crimson signal that now infected 2 more builder nodes. Kale and Saren stood in the cockpit behind him, watching as the builder network map projected across the dashboard changed by the second. Golden lines twisted, recoded, hijacked by the spreading corruption. But the faint pulse of Oblivion reach, still clean, still builder, remained untouched. For now. You really want to jump into a place called Oblivion? Arwaix grunted as he adjusted course. Saren's pendant pulsed brightly. It's not a grave. It's a gate. Kale exchanged a glance with her. A gate to what? To everything the builders hid even from themselves, she said. Their origin code. The source of the Nexus network. Their final defense. Arwaix narrowed his eye. You realize no one's ever come back from that sector? Then we'll be the first, Kale said. They hit the skip drive. The stars bent around them, pulled into a single tunnel of blinding white, and then silence. They emerged on the farthest edge of the mapped galaxy. No suns. No planetary systems. Just the dark void, and one structure. It floated at the center of a hollow, starlit expanse, an impossible lattice of crystal and metal, orbiting a black sphere that bent light but emitted no gravity. Around it, faint golden strands of builder energy remained untouched by the virus. Saren's breath caught. That's it. Kale peered out the viewport. The Oblivion Gate. The ship approached slowly. The pendant around Saren's neck lit up like a flare, casting glyphs into the air that danced toward the console on their own. The gate responded, opening with a silence that felt ancient and knowing. They docked. Inside, the gate was nothing like the other sanctuaries. It was not warm. It was not welcoming. It was raw code, alive and waiting. Glyphs crawled across the walls like insects of light. The walls didn't hum. They listened. Saren stepped into the center chamber and removed her pendant. She held it in her palm, then placed it on the final pedestal. I need you with me, she said, her voice trembling not with fear, but gravity. Kale stepped forward, and she took his hand. The gate flared. A voice, not builder, but pure creation, filled the chamber. Final heirs verified. Last key confirmed. Protocol reset initiated. Streams of light poured into the dark sphere at the center, and suddenly, Saren screamed. Her body arched as the entire builder code passed through her. Kale tried to pull away, but their hands were locked in light. Origin sync complete. Memory reclaiming initiated. Saren collapsed. Kale caught her. Saren? She opened her eyes slowly. They glowed with stars. It's done, she whispered. The corrupted nodes are gone. The gate had purged them. The truth had won. 3 months later. Verdari Prime, Concord Tribunal. The Builder archives were public now. Hakan was gone. The Accord fractured and reformed. Saren stood before the council, her fur braided in ceremonial style, her markings faintly glowing. Kale stood beside her in formal black, no longer a bounty hunter. Now, her protector. Her equal. We stand here not as rebels, she said, but as proof that truth buried still lives. That unity is not forged by force, but by trust. And far above, in orbit, the Builder network pulsed, clean, restored, and ready. A second chance. Epilogue, a new beginning. Later, aboard a Verdari vessel co-piloted by Arwaix, Saren leaned against Kale as they stared out at the stars. She touched her stomach lightly. He blinked. Wait, are you? She nodded slowly, a smile forming. The Builder code changed me. But something else changed us. A pause. Then she whispered, Our child will carry both legacies. Kale took her hand, fingers lacing with hers. Then we're not just the last heirs, he said. We're the first.